Okay, welcome to another IELTS essay question, and I'm going to discuss the structure as well as some important issues, cohesion, some parallelism issues in this essay today. Just click on the link below this YouTube video and you will be directed to the page containing this sample answer. I'm sure you will love this video as I'll be explaining in detail the number of sentences, structuring, and a host of issues. So, without much ado, let me begin. Some cities have vehicle-free days when private cars, trucks, and motorcycles are banned from city center. People are encouraged to use private public transport. Okay, so it's private versus public. Private are banned, public is encouraged during the vehicle-free days. To what extent do you think the advantages of this outweigh the disadvantages? So it's a question about opinion. You are supposed to give your opinion, explain your viewpoint in the body paragraphs. So let us come to the introduction. As you can see over here, the introduction constitutes of three sentences. Sentence number one, number two, and number three. Here it is. Okay, let me change the color. Yeah. So the first sentence is usually a journal sentence. It's a journal statement about vehicle-free days. So you can also omit this statement. This is not necessary. You can directly jump to the second statement, but I prefer writing since I've developed a habit for writing it. It's not really important for your IELTS exam. Um, what I've written is vehicular pollution and traffic jams have become a pestering problem. Now this is a collocation, pestering problem. What is the nature of the problem? It's pestering for almost all urban areas in the world. So I've written urban areas because the question says city center. Okay, so it's focused on city for all urban areas in the world. Now the second sentence, the first was just a journal sentence. The second is some cities have implemented the principle of vehicle-free days. So I'm just paraphrasing this statement from some to free days. So I'm just paraphrasing it. Vehicle-free days when everyone rides on public rather than personal transport. So I'm comparing the two. People are preferring, or people are forced to prefer public transport rather than personal transport. So this is a device that connects the two, and it's a component of cohesion. Now, finally, the final sentence here should be about your viewpoint. So, since this is an opinion question, so I think this is really important because the question is to what extent do you think? Okay, so you should write, I think that this strategy. Now, what is this? This refers back to the strategy stated in the second sentence. Now, this also promotes cohesion since it is a referencing device. It's a referencing device. Okay, it's a referencing device and it will improve your cohesion. I think this strategy has greater disadvantages than advantages. This is explicitly stated. Okay, clearly stated, and the question demands this, and I have stated it very clearly over here. Now it is time to mention the reasons. What are the reasons? Use a since construction. Okay, it again improves cohesion. It binds different elements of a sentence together. Since it fails to change people's behavior and causes overcrowding of public transport. So I have mentioned two reasons, as you can see. Reason number one, it fails to change people's behavior. Why it has more disadvantages than advantages? Because of reason number one, let me call it R1, and reason number two, it causes overcrowding of public transport, R2. So as you can see clearly in this introduction, it contains three sentences. You can reduce it to two sentences. Sentence number one, just a paraphrasing, and sentence number two, your opinion, as well as the reasons supporting your opinion, just in in a very, very brief form. Now, having said that, let me change the color. It's already fine. Having said that, um, your body paragraph 1 should be about the advantages, on which we have lesser emphasis. You can also write about disadvantages, but you'll have to make greater emphasis on that. So let us talk about the advantages. You have to, I'm sorry, this is not mentioned, this is explain. Explain the advantages. Clearly, so I begin with the first sentence, which is the first idea. The first sentence is clearly vehicle-free days help in containing the pollution in urban areas. So containing the pollution means it helps in controlling the pollution. So this first sentence is idea number 1. And you have to keep in mind that as long as you have not explained the first idea, you should not move to the next one. So the following sentences should explain this idea. It continues with an explanation of that the private vehicles, the vehicles are a source of local pollution. Now here I've just mentioned pollution. It is time to explain pollution. So what is the explanation of local pollution? Carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide. And what do these local pollutions do? They increase temperature of the city and cause numerous diseases. Okay? Consequently, they must be avoided on certain days. What must be avoided? Vehicles must be avoided. So they refers back to vehicles. And this promotes cohesion. There are a number of elements that you need to keep in mind while writing a strong answer. So the point here is that you write an idea in the first sentence and explain it in the following sentence. Okay? Now, you must have realized that there are some nouns, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide. They cause numerous diseases, okay, which I have explained in the next sentence. This helps reduce. So what helps reduce? That is the banning of vehicles. So this helps reduce particulate pollution that causes asthma and lung diseases. So what I've done is these are the nouns. There are a number of nouns, and this is what is called a specific response. A specific, or I should say a precise response. And a precise response is always preferred in this exam, since the exam is about written communication. So this is about communication. Are you communicating the idea clearly? So it has to be specific in nature. Now if you read the next sentence, the local warming of the city is reduced. What you'll realize is that how I've structured is I've written the idea about pollution. Now in the next sentence, I've tried to explain it by dividing it into two parts. Number 1, what is pollution? Pollution is carbon monoxide and nitrogen dioxide, which I've explained it over here. Okay, it is carbon dioxide and nitrogen dioxide, and then two problems. One is temperature, another is diseases. So I have clubbed them in a single sentence. Okay, now in the following sentence I have explained diseases, and in the sentence after that I've explained temperature. So this is the structure which you can clearly see. So this is sentence number 1, sentence number 2, I should say them together. This is 2, sentence number 3, sentence number 4. And all the responses are very specific in nature. This is followed by an example. So this is how you write. This is sentence number 5, an example. So your response should be very specific, and again, the example is related to pollution. So what is an example? Example is very, again, specific in nature. It contains data, facts. The government of New Delhi, it's a city, recently experimented with the concept of vehicle-free days, and it was extremely beneficial in curtailing pollution of the fourth most polluted city in the world by 20%. So there is a reduction in pollution due to vehicle-free days. Okay, I hope your structure is clear. Okay, let us come to body paragraph 2 about the disadvantages. And yeah. Now, the body paragraph 2, which is about disadvantages, is again explain. I'm sorry for that. Explain the disadvantages and there should be greater focus. Despite these advantages. Now, these advantages refers back to the body paragraph 1 in which you mentioned advantages. So despite these advantages, I believe this idea has a large number of disadvantages. And with that, you mentioned 2 disadvantages. You must have remembered that in body paragraph 1, we mentioned only 1 advantage. So that's the lesser focus. Greater focus means that you are mentioning 2 disadvantages. Okay, that's 2 to 1. Okay, so the first point is avoiding private vehicles on just a few days increases. I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Increases pressure on the public transport tremendously. Okay, that's a collocation which I've not mentioned. This sentence, this is an idea sentence. The first sentence in this body paragraph was about cohesion. It connected with body paragraph 1. The second sentence here is the idea sentence. This is your idea number 1 about disadvantages. Let me call this D1. Then the second sentence explains D1. How it goes. One study found that vehicle-free days of the number of people using a metro or bus increased by 35%. Okay, so I'm trying to explain how the pressure develops on public transport. So the pressure develops if the number of people traveling by public transport increase. And I have given a hypothetical figure of 35% on metro or a bus. This refers back to the pressure often leads to overcrowded public vehicles and reduces the comfort of travel. What is the consequence? Okay, as you must have remembered, I had mentioned pressure in the introduction. Okay, so you discuss only those points that you have mentioned in the introduction. Let us come to the second point. So I have talked about the idea in 1 sentence and explained it in 2 sentences in a very simplified manner. Okay, let us come to D2. This is idea number 2, that is drawback number 2 or disadvantage number 2. Secondly, reserving only a few days as vehicle free does not create a long-term habit of using buses and trains. So that it does not change the behavior of people permanently. It's a temporary measure. Okay. Now let us explain this in the 2 sentences following this. Though this may reduce the pollution and temperature on a specific day, it is not a permanent solution to these problems. So what should the governments do as a permanent solution? The government should invest heavily in public transport and make it more comfortable so that people develop a habit of traveling by buses. So what you must have realized is that this paragraph has a number of sentences. The sentence number 1 is a cohesion sentence that's connect with the previous sentence, the previous paragraph. Sentence number 2 is about idea number 1. Then there are sentence number 3 and sentence 4 are an explanation of idea 1. Sentence 5 is idea number 2. Sentence 6 and sentence 7 are an explanation of idea number 2. Okay, so there is a specific structure that you need to follow to score higher bands. And remember, explanation means explanation. It's not another idea. Okay, so you should explain, elaborate on the idea. So you should have a broad picture under the idea and explain it in a specific manner. Let me repeat this again. Specific or precise manner in sentence number 3 and 4. So once you mention an idea, explain it sufficiently. So this was my take. I don't need to discuss the conclusion. And I hope you liked the video. Subscribe to the channel. Share with your friends. Thank you for watching.